Welcome to the Longmont Museum on the internet. My name's Justin Veach. I'm the manager of the museum's Stewart Auditorium, and we're coming at you live this evening from the wonderful, the glorious, the 250-seat marvel, the Stewart Auditorium. We're coming at you live on Facebook, longmontpublicmedia.org, and local Comcast channel 8/880, because, hey, some people still have cable. Who knew? Anyway, tonight's program is part of our Thursday Nights at the Museum series. Every Thursday night at 7:30, we'll be live streaming something directly into your computer or your cable television. That's every Thursday at 7:30. Next week we're going to be mixing it up a little bit. We're going to be having a virtual Day of the Dead opening, because we can't have you here for an opening reception like we normally do for our Day of the Dead exhibition and kickoff. We're going to do it online. There's going to be conversations, an artist talk, altar tours. There's even going to be an opening ceremony with Aztec dancers. It should be super. So tune in next week. And then we have lots of other programs coming up, more conversations on race and social justice, a new talk show called The Long Monster, and a science program with NCAR. We're doing a lot during this COVID madness. So tune in and please do join us. I want to thank the people who make this possible, our museum members, some of whom are with us this evening in our audience, socially distanced and wearing masks as appropriate. I'd like to thank our museum donors and the Scientific, Cultural, and Facilities District for their support, as well as our media sponsor, the mighty KGNU Community Radio out of dear old Boulder, Colorado, just down the road. Very excited about tonight's program. This has been a long time coming. I've been talking to Cleo Parker Robinson Dance about doing something up here in Longmont, and I'm excited to say that it's happening tonight. Tonight, it'll be, mostly talk and conversation and some video excerpts of dance. And then next time when they come back up, we will do some actual dance. And it'll be post-pandemic, and it'll be just fab. Without further ado, I'd like to introduce to you this evening's featured conversationalists. The one and only Cleo Parker Robinson is founder and artistic director of the 50-year-old Denver-based Cleo Parker Robinson Dance. As a master teacher, choreographer, and cultural ambassador to both the national and international communities, she leads an organization that encompasses the renowned Cleo Parker Robinson Dance Ensemble, as well as the Cleo 2, her second company, a youth ensemble, an Academy of Dance, an International Summer Dance Institute, a 240-seat theater, and a diversity of educational and community outreach programs. Cleo is the recipient of honors and awards from civic, community, and artistic organizations worldwide, as she and her ensemble continuously provide performances, workshops, master classes, and community programming. Her philosophy of one spirit, many voices is reflected in all that she does and is the vision she and her organization share wherever they go. In conversation this evening with Cleo is Christopher Page Sanders. He received his formal dance training from the Center of Creative Arts and the University of Missouri, Kansas City. He currently serves as co-founder and co-artistic director of the New World Contemporary Dance Theater, and for the past 7 years has danced as a member of the Cleo Parker Robinson Dance Ensemble, serving as both choreographic assistant to Miss Cleo Parker Robinson and as the assistant rehearsal director. He has danced with such companies as Williams Henry Contemporary Dance Company, Owen Cox Dance Group, Kansas City Friends of Alvin Ailey, as well as other theater companies such as the St. Louis Black Repertory and the Mooney, to name a few. His choreography has been presented on a national level twice at the International Associations of Blacks in Dance Conference, and in 2013 and 2014, he earned the Lenny Williams Award for Choreography and Innovation for his work with Cleo Parker Robinson Dance. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Christopher Page Sanders and Cleo Parker Robinson to the Longmont Museum.
Thank you.
Hi, hello.
Wonderful.
Oh, it's so good to be here this evening. And it's so good to be here with you, Cleo Parker Robinson. You know, I love you so much, and I am thankful for this moment that we get to share, especially here in Denver and speaking with you. So it's so good to be with you.
It's wonderful to be here with you. And we were here a number of years ago. As we
Yes.
walked in, we had a memory, and I think it was sort of like, what year was that? And I'm trying to remember my own history, so I always ask you when it was.
It was 2014. I believe it was 2014 that we were here.
It's great to be
So it was great. It's great to be back. Yeah, it's so great to be back. So let's jump right on in, shall we?
Let's do it, absolutely.
So tonight, you will see some excerpts of the wonderful rep that Cleo Parker Robinson Dance has, as well as having this conversation with Cleo Parker Robinson, as many of us like to say, Mama Cleo, because you are a phenomenal woman, and you are a phenomenal artistic director and leader. And so having an opportunity to work under your leadership, I learned so much of who I am as an artist, but also who I am as a human being. So here we go. So I think what you all watching at home and the small few are here who are here tonight, I think what you will see is the heart of Cleo Parker Robinson, and that goes through the work that Cleo Parker Robinson Dance Ensemble and Cleo Parker Robinson Dance as an organization does. So, shall we jump in? Let's jump right on in. So, my first, you're welcome.
Thank you, Chris Page Sanders.
Yeah, you're welcome. My first question is, did dance choose you, or do you feel like you chose dance?
Well, I want to rewind just a little
Let's rewind.
bit. And that's a great question, if I chose dance or if it chose me. You know, I started the company 50 years ago in 1970, so before you all were born, I am sure. but it was an extraordinary time, but the dance didn't start there for me. You know, I had, you know, we look at our lives and we kind of rewind into the journey, we go, oh my goodness, I grew up in a home where we danced. We didn't take professional classes because I didn't really know what that meant, but we were so fortunate to grow up in a home. My father was my first teacher, I think, my first dance teacher. However, he became the first black actor in Denver, so he was an actor, so he knew how movement was necessary. But he grew up dancing. You know, and I think most children do just kind of grow up dancing in the home. So I'm being the oldest. I sort of used dance as a way to get my brothers and sisters to clean the house. That was sort of the way we did it. Like, we have to do this, so why don't we put on the music? And Daddy kind of guided that. And Mama was a French horn player, very young, with the symphony in San Diego. So he came out of the South. She came out of, you know, San Diego and sort of the West, and two totally different worlds. So here I am, hearing jazz and blues, and it's really rooted in 5 Points where I grew up, and Mama coming in with this classical background, really studied music, was very disciplined, and so we have these two different worlds, black and white, and music differently, and it was just fabulous, you know. So, but a time that came out of a really difficult time, Jim Crow laws. So when we know that there was tremendous segregation and unbelievable racism going on at that time, we had to become a real tight-knit family. So the dance for me was sort of my freedom. So I think it chose me as my language to feel free, to feel like I could discover myself in the middle of chaos a little bit, and also in the middle of extraordinary choices. So I could look at it two ways. I could go, either this is a curse that I've got this kind of background and everybody's at odds, or either discover how to bridge it together. And I think I began to discover that. as I began to dance with my family, my brothers and sisters, they became involved. So I'm just blessed to know that the journey has continued with extraordinary artists that you're going to see right now, including having you on stage with me. And I loved having you in the company and choreographing with me, not only on the company, but being in that creative process with me. And I've always respected your work and your mind. You know, I love where your head goes and also where your heart is, because when we're having some very difficult times, you help me shape what my emotional space is, so that we're working mind, body, spirit. So I think the dance chose me. What do you think? I don't know. We're still asking the question.
Right?
I feel blessed, though.
Thank you. And so as we talk more about the company, right, you started the Cleo Parker Robinson Dance Ensemble in 1970 in Denver, Colorado, not in New York City,
No?
not in San Diego, not in Chicago, but in Denver, Colorado, right?
Yeah.
Why did you choose Denver, Colorado?
Well, now, I think it chose me. Now, I do believe that. I knew that once I went to New York when I was 19, I chose New York, but Denver chose me. And so I think that once I was in New York and I went, this is where I will live, breathe, stay, because that's where the energy for all the artists that I've been reading about, But what I was remembering is that I grew up at the Bonfils Theater, and it wasn't all in New York. And the Bonfils Theater was an extraordinary experience that most people in New York and LA didn't know about. But I knew it was equal to, and for me even more, because it was real for me. I grew up with some of the most wonderful artists ever, and I got to do musicals very young, at 16 on the way up, work with Henry Lowenstein, and just amazing artists. And my father, of course, was a janitor at that point. And the way he had to work himself up to getting the respect to be on stage, and how he honored the stage and he honored the theater. I got to grow up in that. And I said, well, let me bring that to the rest of the world. And I want to bring the world to Denver and Denver to the world. And so it became clear after I left New York. But the Model Cities Cultural Center, where I first got my first position to head the dance department, I was already teaching at CU. I was already teaching and created the Black Dance program at the University of Colorado. So I was already in a journey that was beginning, but I never had the opportunity until the Model Cities Cultural Center to create the workshops in the company. And then out of that, it was like, all right, my track shoes were on, because others believed in it with me. And of course, my husband, who I've been married to for 50 years now, that man is a saint, Tom Robinson. So anyway, having a father and mother who really wanted to maybe guide me, you know, just they were very concerned about, you know, my future as I came out of Colorado Women's College, because I mean, who's going to pay dancers? I mean, we know how hard that life is. So I don't think they really wanted me to go in that direction, but they encouraged me to be wherever I wanted to be. But they were concerned, how are you going to make a living as an artist? And so part of my life was to prove that we could really be artists in Denver, and we could pay artists. Now, maybe we don't make a lot, but we certainly made a living, and that was important for me. Yeah.
And so the first work that you'll see excerpts of tonight is Michaela Taylor's Resist. This work was created on the company last season. And so the beautiful thing about art is that art continues even throughout a pandemic. Art continues. And so the dancers will be performing some portions of that work in their home, as well as giving you all a taste of what it feels like on stage. Before we get to that work, let's talk about you as a female choreographer in Denver, Colorado, when there were not many examples of Black female artistic directors, if any, in 1970. And so in starting your company, your mission, one of the mission, missions was to create opportunities for younger choreographers, but also to pair those younger choreographers with master choreographers, Catherine Dunham, and many, many other great, Pearl Primus, many other great female choreographers, right? And so, how was the process of having a young black female choreographer, Michaela Taylor, work with the dancers, with this young generation of dancers that you have? How was that process?
I loved watching her work. And I chose her really in a very abstract way. I usually know the choreographers I'm going to choose, but this choreographer was recommended by the American Dance Festival. And, we just said, we'll be at the ADF again. And that was so exciting to bring my company there and to do the master work, to do the work by Catherine Dunham, and for me to dance Barrel House Blues and carry on her legacy. And then also, the other choreographers were just brilliant, but they were more master choreographers, and the world knew about them. So when we wanted younger choreographers, which I've always had, innovative young choreographers come out of the company like yourself and Nejla Yakin and many others, but I wasn't really aware of Michaela Taylor. I wasn't. And so she began to talk to her about her and maybe 10 other choreographers, sent me their names. We looked on the video, which you can do quickly. Now you don't have to meet them and know them. You just look at YouTube and go, okay, does that meet our needs for the company at this moment? So then the dance magazine just laid on my desk. And there she was in one of 25 that we need to look at. And I said, well, I'm going to pay attention. Dance magazine, bam, there she is. And I go, oh, I want to support other young black women choreographers, and I don't know her work. And so when I introduced that idea to the company, of course you're going to hear Jasmine speak about her. They were thrilled, and I went, well, what do I know? So it's marvelous, because you're learning all the time about new choreographers. I mean, the universities are producing them, communities all over the country now, but that wasn't the case when I started the company. And so I'm thrilled. When Michaela came, I loved watching the process. So I think that's what we'll get a sense of how her process was very integrated in all kinds of experiences that she had. And what she pulled out of the dancers was wonderful.
Good, good, wonderful. So without any further ado, let's watch this excerpt of Resist by Michaela Taylor.
Hi, I'm Jasmine Francisco. What you just witnessed was a snippet or excerpt of my solo from Resist, choreographed by Michaela Taylor. Michaela Taylor was one of the highest or recognizable artists that was on my radar for a very long time. And it was kind of funny that I used to stalk her all the time. And when Cleo told the company that she was coming to set of work, I instantly got like this fire energy. I'm like, okay, it's about to go down. Just because I loved her movement, I love her aesthetic. And while I was watching her through Instagram, it led me to her company. And just looking at their content, I felt like I could connect to her movement. And I was excited just to see what that journey was going to be like with the experience with her and her assistant coming to set the work. And so when she came in and started to work on the company, I had received a solo and with other company members as well. And I felt that my character in my solo was very natural and organic to me. I felt that after just like looking at her work and just exploring through her movement qualities, I felt that it was already innate and stored in me. And so I was comfortable with the experience, and it was in the journey. And so my movement in my solo is very solid, heavy, rigid, very tough. It has a lot of moments where it stops and pauses. And so after performing and working through my solo and just kind of discovering my own body and the movement, I noticed that I can actually relate to this to like my lifestyle, my diet, relationships, bad habits, and just knowing that I can actually resist from these things. But also there's that moment in life where you always have that pause or that last thought that you get before temptation. And so I felt that my character in Resist kind of represented that role with my movement. There was a lot of moments where I would look underneath my shoulders. I'll stop and I'm like, it's like that thought of, am I going to test that water? Am I going to cross that boundary and step into those waters of whatever I'm trying to resist in, or am I going to stay grounded in what I believe in? And so I really connected to that personally. And then last thing in my solo, there's a lot of facial expressions and hand gestures that I do, which I thought was very challenging in the work. It was kind of hard just because I kind of forgot that I have, or my hands can say things, just like my face and my body. And so it was very difficult to really remember to extend that energy throughout my fingers, and knowing that in order to resist something, you have to go fully there, because if not, then there's the point. And so, yeah, thank you.
Hi, my name is Yu Jung Ham. I just performed a solo in the piece called Resist by Michaela Taylor. This choreography has been a challenge for me since the style and the material of the movement is very different than how I've been dancing in my whole life. I'm more like a wavy, ooey-gooey dancer versus how it's supposed to be in the piece. Therefore, I had to make my movement very thick, heavy, sticky, and steady, but still able to move. So it's been very interesting and difficult to make opposite things happen together at the same time while I'm dancing. So I think I'm taking this piece as me resisting my original movement material. Yeah, and also when I do this solo, I'm imagining a huge map in front of me and checking where I've been to in this world, and express how I feel, express through my face how precious and grateful to be traveling, but also how tough and difficult living in another country has been. Thank you.
I just performed an excerpt from my solo from our larger work, Resist, choreographed by Michaela Taylor. When Michaela Taylor first came to set the work on us, I instantly knew that, I had to transform my body into a blank canvas for her. Naturally, my movement quality is a little more looser, using all of my extremities. But with Michaela, she uses from the core first, and then shooting that energy through. It's a full body experience using your face, your fingers, all the way down to your toes. I would say my character represents desperation, yearning, and a sense of resisting your own internal fear. Specifically, I do this movement where I'm kind of crouched over, and then as I move through, I'm moving through my shoulders, and I'm kind of like resisting my own internal quality and my fears. During, as soon as the piece starts, I try to let that tension build in me so that it's coming from an authentic place, almost like, a scream that builds in you. And then in my solo, I kind of let that scream out, because I just have no other choice but to vocalize my own frustration and my own fears. Thank you so much for listening.
Taking us way inside.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
It has. And so let's talk about that for 1 second, right? It's 2020. And
Yes, it
there,
is.
and there
Yes, we can all
is-
claim that, right?
Right?
Okay.
And there is a pandemic that has happened all throughout the world. How has that affected the work that Cleo Parker Robinson Dance does? But how do you continue to push through that?
How much time do we have? Ooh la la. Well, I think why tonight is so special, and I want to thank the Longmont Museum, because Justin continued even with the pandemic to say we're going to move forward. And I think that's what's exciting, is that we don't really know what we're doing, all right? We really don't. We just know that we have to do. You cannot stop moving. You cannot. So we have to keep moving. And what's so wonderful is then to sort of kind of go, what are you doing? You're not just sitting home. We're not going to wait till this is over. We have to figure this out, because creatively, spiritually, emotionally, our passion is there. And if you don't touch a passion, then you don't have a lot of reason to get up every day. So we had to, and I think that's my encouragement to say, we can't be in our theater the way all of our concerts for our 50th anniversary were phenomenal. We were rolling. We might have been moving too fast, and maybe the creator said, you need to sit your butt down right now. Just stop, it's too much. It was everywhere, we were all over. We were choreographing, the theater was opening, we were in a capital campaign to build our new buildings, and it was just wonderful. And being in the shorter AME church for this many years, 30 years, we were waiting to build, for the first time, a new space. And so those dreams became almost really, absolutely disquieted us. And we were touring all over. We were in Mexico creating a wonderful work with extraordinary artists there. And you were there, Mexico City, working with Viviana Basanta, creating one of the most wonderful works called Four Journeys. And we were premiering that at Jacob's Pillow, which would have happened last month. So we had all of these grand plans. So what did we do? We just began to move. And I am so not technical. You do know that about me, right? So I'm like, we are going to do what on a screen? And we're going to dance together? And we're not going to touch? Oh, my brain stopped right then. I couldn't even conceive it, because I've been doing this all of my life. Over 60 years, I only know bodies. I only know what it is to feel this vibration that's human. And for us to have this thing that's right there in front of us, and I have to get through that to get to something else, I didn't have the tools for that. So I had to just surrender and go, guess what? I don't have a clue. Everybody has to guide me. And you feel very vulnerable at that point, because you don't feel like you're in control of the things that you believe in, the core values. So you believe in inclusivity. You believe in a sense of people knowing and caring about each other, that sense of compassion that comes through the work, through the choreographers, that comes with dancers sweating together and working hard and injuring themselves and working through their injuries and crying through a rehearsal because it's just so difficult to get through, and then coming through it together. We missed all that. So when you work now virtually, bam, you've got this thing, and you've got to figure out how do you create work that can translate. And so that was our first thing. So I've learned a few things. I've learned that we can. So I think that there's some new things that we're learning that we can really touch one another because we want to. Even in this pandemic, we can make extraordinary things happen. And so I'm really curious about what else we can do. I pray we can get to whatever we call normal, because I think it'll be a new normal, and maybe the pandemic will get worse, it'll get better. It cannot control every day how we think and live, but it does help shape it. Sometimes it creates a tremendous amount of fear, and so therefore you have to pay attention to that. And then some days you get through it and there's this extraordinary joy, like, I got through this day. I don't have coronavirus. I made up a dance, and I talked to my husband with looking at his face rather than the back of his head as he's working on the computer for 24/7, trying to make things happen with the rest of the world. And then I go, and we're all going through this together. And so that's the big dance. That's a big dance, you know.
And we are all going through this together.
And we're all going through it together.
Right.
So it's like,
Yeah.
I'm like, have you figured out how to do this? Tell me how. Because I have not figured that out. And I think people are really much more open in some ways. I think the news, I think about it, I watch it every night because I'm trying to figure out, so where is our government? Because I'm all over the world, so you care about governments. But I care about how people see our government. And then I go, I can't worry about that. I can only do so much, but I can vote. I can't vote. And so one of our choreographers, who is not from our country, talks about, even though he's teaching ballet, he talks to them about our country. So we're doing ballet tandu, and we're finally jetting across the room, which we're not now. We're in these boxes, and they cannot do that. So I think what's wonderful is that we've tried to figure out how to make something out of very difficult and personally difficult. It's collectively difficult, and it's personally difficult, and to be honest about it, not to make it something else, but to know that let's start from there and try to make something that is meaningful for us. And so, and we'll make mistakes, and we think that what our core values is to be excellent, or to be perfect, and I'm like, well, we can drop that one.
Yes.
Because the computers are in control, and they do whatever they want to do. So, you know, so all of a sudden you go, okay, fine, that just disappeared. Where'd it go? So then you don't exist. And then you go, wait a minute. I thought we had this wonderful thing. I don't even know where somebody just disappeared into the ethers. So it's really, it's very interesting. I think we'll remember this time. But we have many pandemics, many. And we're very aware we have to take care of ourselves health-wise, mentally, spiritually. But then we have the racial pandemic, and people were shocked to see that, and I wasn't so shocked, and I was sad that I wasn't shocked. And then I said, well, our work is more important right now than ever, because others know it's important. But I think we've always known. And so now that I feel there's a consciousness, I feel like there's a desire to make change. And so I think we're aligned with many people that you wouldn't even know you're aligned with, because people are speaking and they're saying where their hearts are. And so I think our Robert Sherman McCrindle is just phenomenal. He's been with us a long time and choreographed before on the company. And out of, you know, I met him in Boulder, so that was way cool. Lemon sponge cake. And all that,
lemon
you know,
sponge cake.
Yeah.
Contemporary ballet.
So it's great. I mean, he said to me, Cleo, I've been working with you 20 years. I went, 20 years? Where did that come from? And in the pandemic, I heard it. Before, I never heard it. I never knew how long he was with me. In the pandemic, when he said 20 years, I was like, well, how do we do this? I think it's a really special time because it makes us stop and pay attention to what does it mean.
Stopping and paying attention is important, right? So let's talk about Robert, and let's talk about his journey as a European male from Austria, and the Cleo Parker Robinson Dance Ensemble being what many may call a black dance company. So you have this white European male from Austria who wants to create a work about, or not about, but centered around social justice, right?
Absolutely.
And the name of his work is Black Angels. It's not completed yet, right?
Yes.
But it started, you all started rehearsal pre-pandemic.
Right.
And then over Zoom, he continued
Yeah.
to rehearse the work over Zoom, right? So this is one of maybe the first Zoom ballets.
It's our first Zoom ballet. This is premiere.
Right.
Here we are in the premiere right now. Like this.
So how do you think people in other countries view or connect to the Black experience in America?
Well, I've had, having the company for the 50 years, I mean, we started in Denver. I started the company in Denver, inspired by Alvin Ailey and Arthur Mitchell. So that was my inspiration. But my teacher was Rita Berger, who was with the Met, and she was a ballerina. It's all together for me. It's not like so separate like people would like to think. It's all a big family. It's huge. However, we have some family issues, no doubt. But if I have a Jewish teacher from the Met who is a ballerina, a soloist from Balanchine, and she sends me to New York so that I can identify with Alvin Ailey, and I fall in love with Judith Jameson and Carmen de Lavalade and all of these extraordinary women. I'm like, what? That's mind-blowing. So anyway, so I then think about the artists that I met there. I loved Alvin Ailey's because when I was in the restroom, I'm talking to the young ladies and we're all getting dressed for class, and I'm going into a Dunham class and then a Horton class, and I'm in the world now. You're in the world through dance. That's what's extraordinary. So I might be a Black dancer, but I am in the world of dance. My language is huge. And when I'm there, and they're from all over the world, I'm like, this is the world I want to be in. So this is the world I have to create. So that was it. But there were really stereotypes about dance, like there is in everything that we do. And I realized that there was sort of this hierarchy of ballet is over here, Europe is over there, Africa is over there, Latin America's there, and modern dance is there, and ethnic dance is there, primitive dance. I'm like, primitive dance? Well, we had to go through all of those changes of labels and stereotypes. And the more you study and the more you understood, we're absolutely inspired by one another and affected by each other. There's nothing so absolutely removed from the other. So I think Europe has been absolutely affected by Africa. But Europe doesn't really stand there as a continent not affected and inspired by, I mean, we talk about Picasso and so on. If you see African art or indigenous art, it came prior. So you have to do a little bit of, you have to be ready to be open to the world. You have to. But I do think that we've had extraordinary choreographers, and I love Robert's mind. I love his mind, and I love how he approaches dance. It's absolutely the opposite of how I work. I mean, we are like yin and yang. Absolutely. I'm going, what is he thinking there? Let me watch that. But it's intriguing to me, and I respect it. And then I go, oh, yeah, that connects me to when I worked with Merce Cunningham and Murray Lewis, or with, I can connect to some of the choreographers that I worked with in Boulder many, many years ago when they would come to Denver. And, John Cage's music, where he would be playing train music, and I'd be like, That, I can't find the rhythm in that at all. Where is the trick? We call that music? That's sound to me. And so when we have an abstract work that is approached totally differently, I'm open. I'm like, wow. So why would you use that score? And it's very exciting to me. So I bring that to the company.
So the art becomes a way to connect humanity.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
I think it's time for us to see another work.
Shall we?
Shall we?
See? Now, we
Yes.
haven't seen, this is the process, which I think is exciting, because most people who are not in the pandemic just want to go to the theater, see the show, and be done, and either love the work or not, or be in the, and we always hope they come back. But this is not the same. Enjoy it. I just think this is going to be wonderful. It's a process.
Yeah,
Process.
Black Angels.
I know it's a bit different now because you're alone in your home or not, but try also really whatever you feel right now in the moment. So you don't have to make up anything. However you feel right now, you know, if you're frustrated, if you're angry, if you put this all in the movements. Yeah, you can put in your anger, your happiness, your sadness, whatever it is you want to put in, you put in. Yeah, because we want to understand what you have to tell us, yeah? So everything is allowed, yeah? Everything, what you feel, your story, that's the most important thing. You start from your shoulder blades, you bring it here and out, and then you travel outside this way, yeah? And so you keep your rib cage wide open, yeah? So this goes here from the shoulder blades, show it from the back, yeah? Shoulder blades here, and then it travels out this way, yeah? And your arm keeps traveling. It lifts this way, this, then there is a wave, and then it travels outside. Now this, when you demonstrate now, when you do this from here, not everybody do it from here. So keep it also from here. Brush down here, catch your inside of your knee, and now from here, toes on the ground, and then you go low this way. So you're really low. I'm still holding on, so I'm sitting on my Now from here you go up, down, bend. So you go straight, bend, stay bent, stretch, straight, straight. Yeah. Just show once this. Show from this when you brush down. Okay, ready and go. Everything should be this. I have to see that every cell in your body is traveling with. Yeah, everything is look, when I do this, everything, my whole body is engaged until my little toe, my fingers, everything, with any movement, even if I just move my head, but everything is engaged, yeah? And go. Wah, 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 wah. Ah, all right, yeah, better, yeah. Now when you do, still, I saw the some, still don't go, now it's not here. The emphasis is now in the wrist, but really in the wrist, so there's no hands, it follows, but the emphasis is completely in my wrist. But you see, obviously my arm has to follow. Don't throw it away. Really keep everything very engaged, yeah, very articulated, yeah. And don't forget, everything you have to tell a story, yeah. Okay, and go. Good. Do one more time from the 3 arms. Good. Okay, ready? And go. Tribal. Ba-voom, ba-voom, ba-voom. That's it. Yeah, good. Wham, ba. And go on. That's it. And turn around. 5th. And brush outside. Close your legs. Bring it out. That's good, yeah? Good. Boom, boom. Here, come up. 1, 1, and 1, and 1, and 2.
Well, let's thank Robert for rehearsal.
No, that's great. Yeah, very good. Good work. Just remember, yeah, really remember the movement, yeah. And it's like I said, it's always it's a living organism, so it's always changes.
Bravo, yeah.
Wow.
I love watching it. It feels very human. I mean, because I have to say, we've been in those windows for so long to be able to get into our amphitheater and to feel the air, to feel the air, because they were working. I mean, when I saw what the dancers were doing to create all the works, they had to be this much space. And so, you know, it just was unbelievable how they had to work. I mean, everybody had to work like that. And then to be able to have that freedom, and then to be near a body, not touching the body. We didn't do any partnering. So choreography that he might have thought about before, he had to rethink it because it had to almost, you had to deconstruct the work that you thought you were doing and then rediscover it. So that was sort of an interesting process for us. So and so now Black Angels has to be presented as a work. It's a work in progress. And so now what I love about watching it is that it's like dance film now. It went from a dance that we created for the theater, for you, but now I'm looking at it like, no, we have to think about dance film now. How do you film dance?
How do you film it? Yeah.
And that's a different way of approaching a work. And that's exciting too, because most of the time, you know, when we're on tour, that's not what we're thinking about. We're thinking about what theater, all that great stuff.
Do you think that you will continue in that vein or try and find a mix of dance film and dance for theater?
Now,
I know that's a bonus question. That was not.
I love
bonus
to do,
question.
you know, I love to do it all. I love to get back. Our works are created for the stage. I mean, 50 years of creating work for the stage by Donald McHale and Tally Beatty and Catherine Dunham and my own work, and even your working with me is all created for the stage. But we're getting ready to do Granny Dances to a Holiday Drum, and my brain goes, how do I take a work that I've done for almost 29 years and make it for film? And yet I've got to make it for both. So it's a little brain damage on my head. So I go to younger people who that doesn't bother them, and I'm going, but I'm looking for that village, and now I have to feel it in a very, very different way, you know. But I thought what Robert's doing is just wonderful, and I can't wait to see. I think we have to really explore it in both ways. Now I think for his work, now that he is finishing it, now I think we have to think about cameras and how to choreograph them with the work itself, because now we have that potential, and now we see something different that can happen. Isn't that fun?
It's beautiful, and also what I loved seeing, and I know as
you know
a member,
Robert's work because you take classes with him every week.
I know as a member of Cleo Parker Robinson Dance that we dance because we have to.
Yeah.
We do it because we have to. There's no other reason, but we must dance, and we must tell stories, and we must find the humanity in everything that we do. So it's never been, I'm just going to get on a stage and just dance for you, but it's always been, I'm going to get on a stage and dance for you because I have to tell you something, right? I have to tell you something that you may not know. There's always been a huge aspect of storytelling when it comes to Cleo Parker Robinson Dance, but also an aspect of humanity, right? So when you see me or Cleo or the dancers, the ensemble, anybody, when you see them on stage, there is a level of humanity that you find in the work, right? And that humanity has been dealing with issues maybe of social justice, issues of women's rights, but also issues of love. And laughter,
Absolutely.
and beauty,
And what makes us human.
and what makes us human,
and what makes us the same and what makes us different, and how cool is that? Because there's only one original you, I do know that.
Yeah.
There's only one original, every one of us. But I think the arts allow us to really be really okay with that, and to be able to keep discovering that and being, I mean, I think that's why I started the company in '70, is that we didn't see ourselves on television. We didn't see ourselves in the theater. We didn't see ourselves. We had to see ourselves so that we could be proud of ourselves, proud of our culture. But if we didn't know ourselves, we couldn't go anywhere with it. And so we had to tell our own stories. And so this sort of segregated concept of black dance and whatever else, white dance or whatever, I don't know what we've done, ballet or it's all dance. We're all trying to tell the human story from that perspective, and then we get to share that, and then we get to share each other's perspectives, and then we get to figure out we're all just like on this journey, this cool, way, heavy-duty, marvelous, unbelievable journey. And so what's wonderful is to see Winifred there in the picture as a choreographer, too. I mean, Winifred came out of the company and worked with me when she was 8 years old, I think, started that young. And so much earlier than when you started with me. You started, what, out of college?
Right out of college.
Right out of college.
Right out of college.
Yeah, you were so young. So college, you know, but she started as a child. And so what I loved is seeing her now as this associate artistic director, really giving the dancers, so they can only work with the choreographer a very short amount of time. And then all of a sudden, she's got to be with Chloe, who rehearses the company every day, and translate that and demand that from every choreographer. They are speaking their voice. And, you know, that's how I feel like I've only had one child. Malik runs our company, and now he's our executive director, but I feel like I've had many babies.
You have?
Many children, many. And Tom too, because you take on the company as a family. I mean, you know, and when people leave you, your heart is broken, and then when they become great, you go, yeah, it was great that they left, and then you go, oh wait. You know, I mean, we learn lots of lessons from each other throughout all of this, so great. You know, you weren't able to be in my work, the movement, but you always were an inspiration for me as I was creating it. Because I think the next work that I would love to share is the one I did with the Colorado Ballet and the company just a year ago. And, you know, that was Resist, so a lot of the work was already about social justice, and even what I think Robert wanted to do is, he said, I am a white, male, European artist working with black dancers. I have something to say. And I said, well, then say it. You got to say it. You know, I can't say it for you. I'm not coming from your perspective. I don't know your history. I don't know your life. But I learned his life more in doing it. I learned more about his mother. I learned more about his culture. I learned more about his perspective. And isn't that a wonderful way to learn about each other? And then to go, you know, so the movement for me was a little bit to say, y'all have to know what my life is that put me in this place. And I know about the civil rights movement, and this is before Black Lives Matter on that level, and the whole protest, it was a year before. And so I think one of our dancers, Michael Metcalf, really invited me to be there at the University of Alabama State, or something like that.
Alabama State.
And to begin to talk to his dancers, because he was at my company. Of course, he brought Cedric, and this is sort of like we mentor each other. We're all mentors. And so you've mentored dancers that you've brought to our company, like John. It's beautiful. So John dances in this, but he came to us through you. So that mentorship is really important in life. We're teachers for each other. And even though we're in a pandemic, we still have to mentor each other. And it might be difficult because people see our not so good side some days. You go, okay, please forgive me. I'll be better tomorrow. You know, I'll be better in a minute. But I mean, the mentorship is important. So I think that I wanted to bring the part that my father and mother were activists. They were in Denver, they were activists. They helped change the laws of Jim Crow because of love. They loved each other, and they cared about community, and they cared about us functioning in this community. And so they weren't going to sit around and just pray about it. They were going to act and pray and do all the things that they did, and be in theater and make costumes and all the things that happen in the theater, but they were really clear about the intention. And I think this time is about, we have to know what our intention is.
What do you think that that intention is?
It's about moving. We inherited whatever we inherited. I mean, we give thanks to our ancestors, but we also look at some of the things we inherited that we're not undone. They're not finished.
Not finished.
They're not finished. And so when we look at John Lewis and we go, oh my God, isn't that a man? And then we look at Justice Ginsburg and we go, isn't she an extraordinary woman? But it's not over. They did what their lives were to do. What are we to do? And I say to the young people, I said to my dancers, I said to the dancers in Colorado Ballet, where are you in the movement? I was like really bold, like, okay, you're dancers, you put on your point shoes every day and but I want to know, where are you in this movement of change? Because even if you're a dancer, I don't care what you are. If you are a dancer, if you're a technician, or if you're an engineer, if you're a doctor, if you're a janitor, it doesn't matter where you are. But where are you in making this a better world for the next generation?
So it becomes more than dance.
Oh, that's your tool.
Right,
You
it
get
becomes,
to-
the tool is
You get
dance.
to use your tool. You get to use whatever you do best is your tool. But you've got to be about what it's about. Or you're just taking up space and having a party, which I love to have every day, but I don't intend to just take up the space.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't want to take up anybody else's space.
Yeah.
Because your life is too important.
Good. So one of your mottos for Cleo Parker Robinson Dance is the healing power of art.
I was going to ask what it was. It is the healing power of art.
It is the
I was going to
healing
say,
power
one
of
spirit,
art.
many voices. The healing power of art.
There are
yes.
many, right? There's one
Yes,
spirit, many
yes,
voices.
yes,
There's
yes,
mind,
yes,
body,
yes.
spirit, and then there's also the healing power of art. So how can we as human beings connect to the healing power of art?
I guess, first of all, I mean, I was going to be, when I think about my journey as a dancer, I never thought, I mean, I wasn't doing Rita Berger's track, which was a ballerina. I danced. I love dance. I love music. But I wanted to be a doctor. So, because my father wanted to be a doctor, and here he comes from the South, it was very important for him to be someone that could be somebody. I mean, that's the sort of the Black tradition of, you can't just be out here making music or painting. You better be somebody. That is our cultural background. So I claim it. I claimed it. And so my work was really studying Latin, and I mean, I'm in pre-med classes, and I'm dancing on the side. I'm creating a dance studio on the side, and I'm working with psychologists on the side. And then I'm going, wait, this all is integrated for me. Because then I realized that what I was studying in psychology about mental illness, that people who were racist, that was a mental illness. That was not, they learned it and it began to take over. You know, where if they were hurting someone because of race or because of gender or because of class or whatever that was painful. Whatever painful, when you're in pain, you're creating pain. And I began to see that, and I'm like, whoa, well, let me see how I can begin to make a difference in that place. And so you begin with yourself. You begin with yourself. And so when I watch the dancers dance, I watch them work through that visceral place. And that's why I think everybody has to move. When we teach children to get along, you're not just saying, you need to be kind to Freddie. You go, why don't you all move together? Why don't you sing together? why don't you play together? It's a physical, mental, spiritual moment. And when they can connect like that, then they feel connected, united. And if one's really angry, and I've worked with autistic children and all kinds of levels of behavior, and I would study with doctors and nurses and be in hospitals, and they're amazing what they're doing, but I knew it wasn't holistic. We're leaving out some part of the body, and that ability to move your energy, to move it. So I began to say the healing power of art, because when you get to move how you're feeling and honor it, like, I'm really angry, like how we got to Trayvon Martin's piece was in your pain.
On the edge,
It was your
yeah.
pain. It was your pain. You saw what was happening in your community, and they were starting to riot. And here we are in Denver, and we're watching it on the news, and you go, oh my God, what is happening? Now, all I knew to do was to go, let's put some music on, let's figure out what you're really feeling, and I'm gonna find something, and we discovered this together. And then Trayvon Martin's mother is in our theater the day before the pandemic. I never thought we would ever meet her in our lives. And so I know the energy of whatever we're creating will manifest. I learned that in Boulder because they're so spiritual there.
So, without further ado, let's go to Cleo Parker Robinson's The Movement.
We marched, we protested, we sang, we danced, we prayed. And then there were times we moved in silence.
If you can't fly, then run. If you can't run, then walk. If you can't walk, then crawl. But whatever you do, you have to keep
moving. The river sings and it sings on. There is a true yearning to respond to the singing river and the wise rock. So say the Asian, the Hispanic, the Jew, the African American, the Native American, the Sioux, the Catholic, the Muslim, the French, the Greek, the Irish, the rabbi, the priest, the sheik, the gay, the straight, the preacher, the privileged, the homeless, the teacher. They hear, they all hear. We all hear the waters speak.
This is called By the Waters of Babylon.
Woman.
Together.
Vulnerability.
respectful.
Unity.
Optimistic.
Equal opportunity.
Peace.
Cleo Parker Robinson.
yes.
It has been an honor to be with you this evening. I have one final question for you.
Uh-oh, bonus question. Okay. How
What
much
do you
fun?
think is on the horizon?
Oh my goodness, honey, I don't know. I just feel like we're in a new day, in a new time, and I think we just better be ready for some amazing lessons we'll learn from this moment. I think we're going to have some miracles that happen also. Because the planet is in a certain place. The planet is speaking, not just Denver, Colorado, the West. We kind of define ourselves. We're a national company. We're an international company. I think we're in the world, and we're going to move in a way that we maybe never moved before. I mean, ever. And so I just am glad to wake up in the morning and on the horizon and be able to put my feet on the floor and know my name, know who I am, and call you and say, and what have we done, and what do we need to be doing? And I get direction from everybody around me. I like, what do we do today? How do we do it? Let's do it with the greatest compassion. So I hope we learn to be, you know, one of my teachers and our teacher is I think about many people, but not just my father and mother and my brothers and sisters who were great teachers for me. My son is my teacher. Everybody around me. I mean, when I look at Chloe's father creating this music and how I come into it, and I go, that's your father's music. And I think about Catherine Dunham and what she did, but I was with her towards the end of her life, and you know, being able to do her work, not just Barrel House Blues, where I show this sexy woman in Chicago and blah, blah, blah. That's wonderful, it's extraordinary. But what I learned from her is that we get to take a place in the civilization itself, study civilizations, and try to understand what time are we in this civilization right now, and to look at ourselves and to go, how do we want to leave? Our museums will tell us, our history books will tell us. We get to leave some legacy. And I think that's what I'm focused on now. What kind of legacy do we want to leave? Because we're not going to be here long. We don't get a lot of time. And now we think maybe, you know, I'm what, 72, I could be 90, I could be 100, but all my kicking my legs up are, those days are over. And so where does my time and energy go is to make sure that I provide that opportunity for others so that they not only get to do that, but they do something beyond what I could even imagine, even greater than what I can imagine. So I need to bring my collective thinking together with others that want something greater for all of us, for all of humanity. And so I open myself to that every day. And I live with a coach who coaches me every day. Get up, what are you doing today? What are your goals? I go, to rest, to sleep, to not think. But we're driven to do things that we could possibly make it a better place. Mother Earth, all of it. I mean, we got fires, we got floods, we've got, you know, I mean, I've danced in Hawaii on volcanoes where we're worried about volcanoes taking the homes and how people have to protect their homes. And we know we came from Katrina, and we know what happened during that time. People lost their homes, and then they never really were able to regain their lifestyle again. There's a certain amount of humanity we're going to learn at this time. And we're going to dance about it and sing about it. So we have a dance that we have to create around this time, I think. But I am most grateful. That's all I can say is thank you to our Longmont Museum to invite us for this moment. Ain't this fun?
This is beautiful. This is wonderful.
Did you all have a good time? Did we have a good time? I mean, you know, so we have 500 people in the audience. I mean, well, you know.
I think we have time for maybe a quick question from our audience here in the Stewart, and then maybe a quick question from Facebook. Do we have any questions here? Oh, we do. Here, you need to wait for the mic. Just
I don't have a question, but I just wanted to tell you how much fun I had taking class in your studio. It was probably 1978.
Oh, my.
I don't remember where it was in downtown
Oh,
Denver,
it
but there
was
were
on
nice big windows.
Lawrence, 20th and Lawrence
Yes,
Street.
yes.
Yay!
And I loved the bar work, the bar warm-up.
Yeah.
That was
oh my
just my
God.
favorite part. So
How wonderful.
how lovely to see you in this setting and be able to speak that to you. So,
Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Oh, that's fun. 20th and Lawrence, that's sort of in the, in the beginning, that we haven't moved far from where we started. We started on Welton, on 20th and Welton, and then we got that loft. And that was a huge move for us. We really thought we were moving uptown, honey. When we moved into that loft, we thought it was all about, but, and then now, then we were homeless. We didn't have a home. And then we joined the Denver Civic Ballet with Malenko Banovich. Did Malenko teach bar at that time? No, I think you taught the class. Probably. It was in my ballet days. Yeah. It was a modern bar, yes. Yeah, yes. Oh, wonderful. I can't wait to see you. Thank you.
Well, we don't seem to have any more questions, but there's all these great comments, so I'll just read a couple comments. Oh, oh nope. Okay, we do have a question. From Atta Papa. If there was one story that you could retell from past stories, what would that be?
Is that from Atta in New Zealand? That's in New Zealand.
That's from New Zealand?
Oh, yeah.
All the way
Oh,
from
my
New
God, and-
Zealand.
Oh, my God. So I did want to talk about Bess Pruitt. And Bess passed this last week, and I was talking about her on the way. And I knew while I was in this energy, I wanted to talk about her because she was our manager. And, oh, my God, I spoke about her the last 2 days. Bess Pruitt brought the first Porgy and Bess around the country. And she became our manager because we worked with Baba Chuck Davis, and she managed him in New York, and she became my manager. And the funny story is that she tried to manage me, and I was unmanageable. She managed me from New York, and every morning she'd call like at 7 o'clock in New York, it would be 5 o'clock, something in Denver, and she'd say, "What are you doing?" And I'm going, "Sleeping." She'd go, "Okay, you've got to get up. You have plenty to do, Cleo. How is Tom? What are you doing? How's Malik? Okay, what's the company doing? Now this is what you need to do." So she was extraordinary. But the most important thing is that she managed the Maoris, Conquerong Company out of New Zealand. Out of New Zealand.
Yeah.
And of course, Chris was with me.
Yeah, that was
and
a
it was one of the most
phenomenal
powerful moments that we've ever
phenomenal tour.
had touring the world, and we've been around the world. We've been in Egypt and Israel and Bulgaria and Istanbul and all over, Singapore and Nigeria and Kenya, and oh my God, the company has been seen Italy, all over Italy, Rome, in Italy. But there was nothing like New Zealand.
Yeah, that was a phenomenal
And
trip.
Bess
Phenomenal
Pruitt
tour.
made that happen.
Yeah.
And why I think was so wonderful is because we were brought in as the first American company that they would ever see. Not the first black dance company, but the first American company that they would see. And I was so honored that we would bring our company and represent this country as an American dance form. And we were honored in the most traditional way with the Maoris and ritual after ritual. And so we felt very, very, very loved and honored. And we learned how to honor one another through that. What did they call it?
The hongi.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was truly amazing.
Yeah.
It
Well-
affected our lives. Thank you.
Speaking of being honored, we're honored that you could join us this evening and honored that we were able to join you in celebrating your 50th anniversary. It's such a privilege to have you here and to have you here in Colorado. Colorado's own.
I love Colorado. It's my home, and it's become his
It
home.
has become my home.
He got married, and this is where he lives now with his own company. And so, Justin, thank you.
Well, we want to thank you both. Thanks to Christopher Page Sanders, and thank you so much, Cleo Parker Robinson.
Thank you.
Don't be a stranger, okay?
Oh, no, we'll be here with more. We'll invite more, and we'll have the dancers on stage very soon.
I don't know if we can take much more, but thank you. Thank you. Today was
Thank you all
fantastic.
for being with us. It made us feel like we really had a concert tonight. Thank you.
Thank you so much, and thank you all for joining us. Tune in next week, same day, Thursday, same time, 7:30 for our virtual Day of the Dead opening, 20th anniversary of our Day of the Dead festivities. See you next week. See you on the internet. Take care.